Hello and welcome to the non-spatial webinar. Today we'll be taking a look at what's new with Geocortex Reporting. As Haley introduced me, I'm Harry Sterling, a GIS consultant at non-spatial. Hopefully you can now see the presentation clearly, despite those initial sort of tech issues that we had to begin with. If you do have any issues at all, you can type them in the chat or the questions box in GoToWebinar, and we can then address these as necessary. As with all our webinars, this session will be recorded and you'll receive an email with a link to that recording after the session is finished. Alternately, you can visit our website to register and download all of our previous webinars, which cover a wide range of products and software which we offer, which spans from our own OneIntegrate software to FME and Geocortex, which we are resellers of. At OneSpatial, we're a software solutions provider, and we're considered to be a global expert in managing location and geospatial data. We have offices around the world, including here in the UK, the United States, Australia, France, Belgium, and Ireland. And across these territories, we work primarily in three key sectors. Those are government, utilities, and transport. Within these industry sectors, we offer software solutions, product licensing, training, and consultancy services, which can include the add-on of technology provided by our wealth of partners in order to ensure that we are able to deliver the highest quality of service to our customers, some of whom you can see examples of here. Looking specifically at our Geocortex software solution, we've worked with VertiGIS, formerly Latitude Geographic, since 2011, when we started selling Geocortex in the UK. And as you can see from this slide, during this period, we've worked with a wide variety of customers across a range of sectors, providing a multitude of different GIS solutions to suit our different customers' needs. Geocortex offer a suite of products, which include mobile and web viewers such as Geocortex Mobile and the HTML5 viewer, and capabilities that can be consumed within a viewer, including workflow, reporting, and printing. And finally, accessibility and management tools, access control, and analytics. The capabilities offered enable you to build custom widgets to extend your web or mobile GIS without the need for coding. And using the SaaS version of Geocortex's software, this ensures your software is always up to date, and this allows VertiGIS to regularly deliver bug fixes and updates throughout the lifetime of their products. Today, I'll provide a tech tip to highlight some of these new updates that have been added to the Geocortex reporting capability. Geocortex reporting has many benefits for your GIS, including collaboration, which is enabled by simplifying the manual process of collecting and compiling important data from a range of sources. It allows you to identify patterns and is designed for Esri's modern ArcGIS platform, with which you can bring together maps, spatial data, and relational data to gain a better understanding of your data. You do require an ArcGIS identity to create reports, but in turn, Storage Review Reports is housed in AGOL or Portal for ArcGIS, and this enables users to run reports in both Geocortex or Web AppBuilder apps, as well as complete flexibility with an intuitive design experience, versatile visualization options, and access to third-party APIs. You can meet virtually any reporting requirement. You can configure your reports right in your browser using drag and drop functionality, and you can bring your key data together. With Geocortex reporting, you can create printable PDF reports that connect to your geodatabases, your non-spatial data, your maps, and provide you with charts. Geocortex reporting provides dozens of charting templates so that you can present your data in an effective manner as you choose. And offering their products under the SaaS model enables Geocortex to seamlessly deliver software updates and upgrades to their customers, as they have done many times over the lifecycle of their 5 Series products. And in the past year alone, there have been a number of new updates to the Geocortex reporting capability. Here are just a few of the newest ones. So as of June last year, for customers with licenses for both Geocortex reporting and printing, the report designer now supports and includes several Geocortex printing controls, such as the map picture box, or map info controls, the scale bar, a north arrow, which can be associated with either the picture box or the map picture box. And in line with Geocortex printing, the report designer now supports localization as well, so you can create a single report that can be run in multiple languages, depending on the language of the host application. And again, this is also supported by Esri's Web AppBuilder. There's support for more expressions to allow you greater control of your reporting controls, including the use of JSON and array functions. And for on-premise installations, you can now configure a storage retention limit. This allows you to manage the amount of storage that is retained and might be particularly useful if you're running Geocortex software on a virtual environment with limited memory available, for example. You can set the display name of output PDF files rather than needing to rename them after generating your reports. And there's improved logging of failed reports, which is useful for development and includes log information relating to issues accessing web maps. The feature picture boxes, which can easily occur due to incorrect sharing permissions in AGOL or Portal, as well as support for more layer types, which now includes Portal-hosted feature layers. So now, let's have a look at Geocortex reporting in a demo. I'll just start by opening up the Geocortex report designer. Oh, we can just ignore that. And we'll see it loads up. And today, I'm using a version 5.12 of Geocortex reporting that has been installed for on-premise use and was released as recently as April this year. I've already signed in using my portal for ArcGIS details, as we can see here. And now that I'm logged in, you can see that I'm met with a number of pre-built templates for different report scenarios, as well as all of my recently modified reports. For today's demo, I'll just start with the layer report template. And after a few seconds, it will recognize that I've got some existing data sources, so I'll just choose next. I'm then shown a list of all of the existing data sources that I have that I've used in previous reports. For today's demo, I'll select the Cambridge Pubs capacity data source, and then again hit next. Now, because this data source has multiple different tables in it, I have the option of choosing which one I actually want to use. And in this case, I'm going to go with Cambridge Pubs, and then hit finish. A report template will now be generated for me that contains some report controls, which are using the data source that I've just chosen. So now it's generated, we can see that we've just got a simple table title here, as well as a page title, and then a table with some of the attributes from my data. We can also see that a number of bands have been added to the report as well. So I've got a top margin, if I just hover over that, then also a report header, a page header, a detail band, and then also a bottom margin as well. I can use these bands and then grouping of these bands in order to organize and define the layout of my report, which is particularly useful if you generated a report that is quite long and complicated. Now, let's just run a quick preview so that we can see how this report would look with some data. So I'll just enter a feature ID and then hit run. Because I've authored my report with a direct link to the feature service, I can use this preview tool to generate a preview of my report with data that actually exists in my ArcGIS layer. So once generated, we can now see that feature ID 1 relates to a pub in Cambridge called the Cambridge Blue, which was marked as open on the 16th of July last year. And this is how my table would actually appear with data that's actually in my map or app when I run it from a viewer. This just shows how quickly we can very easily create a useful report with a table output with our data and then generate a preview as well. I can easily add some more data and more controls to this template to make it more informative and useful. So to do that, I'll just close this preview and then return to the report designer. I'll start by organizing the table provided for me to show data that I actually want to show rather than that which was automatically added. I'll keep the object ID just as a reference. Then I'll also keep the name attributes, as these obviously give me the names of the pubs which I've selected. The status and the date are also useful, but I probably don't need the global ID, so I can just select those and then hit the cross in order to remove those. And then I can just remove this final blank column that's been added as well. Once I've done so, I can then simply resize it by just clicking and redragging. And if I click on date, I'll just line that up as well. Again, using the grid lines there, just to know that I've got the top column in line with the bottom column. And I'll do it again just to give our pub's name a little bit more room and status less room, as obviously it doesn't need it. I can add a feature picture box, which is a printing control which I mentioned previously, and this is now available in reporting, provided that you're licensed. So to do that, I'll just extend my detail band, just by clicking and dragging again. I'll select my feature picture box from the left-hand side and drag it into my viewer, again using the grid lines to line it up, and then I can just resize it so that we'll get a slightly larger map generated for us as well. Once added, I can simply change some of the properties on the right-hand side. So I'll put a fixed scale of, say, 2000, and I'll just increase the expand to 1.5 in this case. I could then also add some page information to my report. Again, I'll just scroll through my controllers on the left-hand side here, select page information, and then just drag it into my design area like this. I'll change this page information control to be the current date and time, and then I'll drag another one to the opposite side of the footer, and change this one just to be our page number, which I can make a little bit smaller, as it won't need to be so big. I could then also add something like a picture, just like this, so that we can include our company logo and just add some branding to our report. I'll resize it because I know that our logo isn't as tall as that. And then I'll just choose image source, which is a JPEG of our non-spatial logo, which I have here. We can see that it's zoomed in automatically, and I can just change that sizing by selecting the zoom image here, and we can see it's been updated straight away. Now that I've made these changes, I'll quickly run a preview again, just so that we can see how our report looks with a few more controls and a bit more data. This time I've entered a number of feature IDs, just so that we'll see more than one feature that's been run in our report. Again, this will just take a few seconds to generate, but once generated, we'll see how my report will display with both that feature picture box that I added, as well as the page information which I added to the footer. There we go. So now that it's generated, we can see that this time I've got object ID 1, which relates to the Cambridge Blue, and we can also see that we've got a nice feature picture box or map that's been included in our report output, as well as then the flying pig with the map there as well. And we've also got today's date, our non-spatial logo, and the page number as I added there. Next, to make my report even more useful, I can add a chart so that we can gain a richer visualization of our data. So to do that now, I'll just close this output, and then I'll return to the report designer again. This time, perhaps, I want the chart to be at the beginning of the report rather than shown for each feature, so that we get a summary of all of our data before we start looking through our report. So to do that, I'll just expand our report header here, again by just simply clicking and dragging. And then I'll drag in my chart control from the left-hand side, again using the grid lines, just to line it up with the middle, so that I know it's centered. Next, to populate my chart and bring together my key data, I first need to build a relationship between my Cambridge Pubs map service and the relational data that I want to include in my chart. So to do this, I choose my field list from the right-hand side, select my Cambridge Pubs capacity data source, and then choose Add Query as one of the options. I can then run the query builder, and because I've got two tables that are available within this data source, I'm automatically shown those here under the available tables and views. So I'll drag in the Cambridge Pubs capacity, and I'll just include all columns in this case. I can hit OK, and then finish building my query. If I then hit the drop down, we can now see that my Cambridge Pubs capacity table has also been added to my available tables. Now that I've added this, I need to build a relationship between my Cambridge Pubs table and the new capacity table. So to do that, I just select my Edit Master Detail Relations option here, select my Cambridge Pubs, press Add, and then choose my Cambridge Pubs capacity. Once I've done that, we can see that I'm given an equal relationship here between my Cambridge Pubs and my Cambridge Pubs capacity, but I need to choose which attributes within these tables relate to each other. So in this case, I know that object ID in Cambridge Pubs relates to the reference ID in the Cambridge Pubs capacity. So if I just hit OK, I've then created that relationship there. And now that my data has a relationship, I can choose Run Designer from the chart that I've added in order to actually start building my chart. So firstly, I just need to choose what data I want my chart to display. In this case, I'm going to build a stacked bar chart that will show both the seating and the standing capacity of my pubs, which is particularly useful at the moment. So to do that, I just select Series and then choose Add. We can then see that I've got a range of different chart types which I can add here, but for the purpose of today's demo, I'll just choose the bar 3D chart. I'll change the name just to standing to begin with, as this can be my standing series. I'll need to select an argument data member, which is that which identifies the relationship between my two tables, so the reference ID in this case. And then as I'm going to display numerical data, I also need to select a value data member, so that which actually shows my standing capacity, which in this case is going to be the standing field from my Cambridge Pubs capacity table. And we can see that's automatically updated in my chart here with the preview tool. I then want to add another series as well, this time for the seating. So again, I just select the add series and then choose the 3D stacked bar again. This time I'll change my name to seating instead. Choose my argument data member of reference ID again. And then this time instead select my seating capacity instead. And we can then see it's updated straight away as well. I can hit OK, and we can see that's automatically added to my preview here as well, just so I get an idea of how it looks in the design area before I've even actually run the preview there. Now, I could preview my report again in the report designer to see how it looks, or instead, I can add it to a viewer as I would do in real life. So to do that, I'll just quickly save my report with an appropriate title. So let's just call it Reporting Webinar, for example, and then perhaps just April 21, so I know when I've done it, and hit save. I can then open up Geocortex Web, where I'll be running this report today. We'll just allow the designer a few seconds to load. But once it's there, we can see that I've been signed in automatically because it's cached my identity from the report designer. And I'll choose my Cambridge Pubs web app that I have here. Once it's loaded, we'll see that I've got a web map here running with the Cambridge Pubs data source that I was just looking at in reporting. And for this demo, I want to be able to select some of the pubs from my viewer and then actually run my report. So to do that, I'll scroll through the components on the right hand side. And I'll just look for the results section. Oh, here we go. I'll select my results list and then choose add menu item. We can then see that I've got a number of different options here. So I could add a command to the menu, or I could add workflows, or in this case, I can add a report. And we can see that I've got a list here of all of the reports that I've recently modified. And I'll just select my reporting webinar, which I've created today. I can then just save my Cambridge Pubs viewer. And once it's saved, I'll then be able to launch the development app so that we can actually have a look at how it runs in the viewer. So I'll just select Launch App. I'll need to sign in as it's secured. So I'll just enter my portal identity here. Allow the web app to load up and display my map in the background. And we can see that I've got the number of pubs dotted around Cambridge here. So if I just click in order to identify and select one of those, I get the results on the left-hand side, and we can see that I've then got my reporting webinar as an option here. So I'll just hit that, and straight away we get a message to say that the report has started. And in this case, for the purpose of today's demo, I've just simply utilized the identified tool that is available in Geocortex Web out of the box. But because I'm using Geocortex Web in this example, I could also add the report component to anywhere within my viewer's layout. I could have a widget here, for example, or I could even have it through the I want to menu. I can even add multiple report components to allow the user to easily navigate and run different reports. And once it's completed, I get a green banner message there just to confirm. I can click to download, and this will then open up the report which I've created. So now we can see that I've got the 3D stat chart which I created at the beginning to provide a little bit of summary data to the user. And if I scroll down, I then get the table displaying, in this case, the fourth object, which is Fort St. George. And then I've got my feature picture box and my page information at the bottom of the page as well. So now that we've seen some of the useful controls that are already available in the report, including those printing controls which I mentioned earlier, let's take a look at some of the newer capabilities which are available. Today, I'll look at localization, which is the ability to localize report template content using the localization editor. This allows you to configure a single print or report template, which can then be generated in different languages depending on the language of the application which you've used to generate it. So if I just close my output here and return to our report designer, you see that we've got a new tool in the top row here, which is called localization. So I'll open that. To begin with, the language is just set to default. In this case, I'm going to demo in French, so I'll just select French, and that automatically adds another column on the right hand side here with all of my different text bottom boxes or controls from my report. I can just quickly translate these, which in this case, as we're translating into French, doesn't actually require me to translate all of them, because some of them actually are the same in both languages. But if I had more different controls, they will also be translated throughout this list as well. Once I'm happy with my translations, I can then just click back in order to return to the report designer so that I can see my new text in situ. As we can see here, so we've got non and then statute, for example. I can run a preview again so that we can now see how it will look with these text items in French instead of in English. So again, I'll just use that preview tool as we've become familiar with. We'll allow it a few seconds just to get to our data source and then actually generate our preview for us as well. Seems to be taking a little bit longer to run it in French than it did in English. I'm not sure why that might be, but here we go. So straight away we can see that we've got those items that were in the table there of non and status also changed. And we can also see that our date item in the bottom left-hand corner has automatically changed for us as well, because it's detected that I've now set the localization of this report to French. Instead, if I was to save my report template and return to my web application to run my report, it would still be run in English because the web application that I'm using is set in English. So I'll just show you that now by closing the output, saving my template, refreshing my web viewer just so we make sure it's picked up those changes and that the localization is different. And then this time I'll just select a different pub here. Again, I can hit my reporting webinar. I'll get a message to say that it started, and after a few seconds, I'll get that familiar green bar to say when it's generated. Another thing I could also change would be just to change the name of this item. So rather than the title of the reporting webinar, I could instead have run a report on selected pubs, just to make it a little bit more descriptive and friendly for the user. Obviously, the amount of time it takes in order to generate the report depends on the amount of data you have and also the data sources that you're reading from. For some reason, mine today seems to be a little bit slower, but that might also be down to my internet connection, for example, and the fact that I'm streaming this. But once it's completed, again, I get that nice green bar to confirm it's done, and I can click to download. And this time we'll see that actually, instead of being in French, it's reverted back to English because that's the language of the application that I was using. So that was my reporting tech tip demo. And now, in conclusion, using the SaaS version of Geocortex capabilities ensures that you're always accessing the latest version, which often includes useful bug fixes as well as new capabilities. For example, improvements to the designer load times. Geocortex Reporting Designer now also supports the use of print controls, which allows the users that are licensed for both reporting and printing to leverage a number of useful print controls, such as the feature picture box, which I've shown today. Geocortex Reporting now supports deployment across multiple territories through the use of the new localization editor, and this allows you to create just one template, but use it in multiple different applications with different languages, should you need to. Accessibility to Geocortex Reporting is now even easier, as it is now available for download in the ArcGIS marketplace, alongside Esri's own applications. And finally, with Geocortex Reporting, you can use a range of charts and other controls to turn your plain data into useful information products. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask now, or you can get in touch via email. Or, for more information, please feel free to visit our website. Okay, so we just had a question here from come in. So are one-to-many also supported with reporting? So I assume that means one-to-many relationships. Could you perhaps provide a little bit more explanation of what you mean exactly? Just wait to see if anything further comes back. Otherwise, I'll make an assumption. Okay, so yeah, one-to-many. Oh, yeah. So provided that you have, sorry for that. Provided that you have a table within your data, you could build a relationship, as I did, using the pubs and then the pubs capacity. So that would then build in that one-to-many relationship on the basis of the fact that you've used the query builder in order to build a query that recognizes that you've got the one-to-many as opposed to just one-to-one relationship there. Hopefully that answers your question. Oh, another question. So where can I access a list of new capabilities and bug fixes for each release? Yeah, so as with all of the 5 series capabilities, this information is available in the reporting documentation. You get a bullet point list provided each time there is a new release, and that's normally just right at the beginning of the documentation there. Okay, unless there are any more questions, thank you all for listening. I do hope this has been an interesting and informative webinar. Please join us next month to hear about how you can use Geocortex workflow with your web GIS.